Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jose Rodriguez, and I'm a U.S. history teacher. I've worked at El Camino Junior High for 20 years. It's like my home away from home, and my colleagues, they're like family to me. Last week at our staff meeting, we looked at the dashboard data, specifically the suspension category. We were stunned to see that we had moved into the yellow category. We did not receive this as good news. The data simply showed that we were not suspending enough. I understand that there's a conversation about suspensions and the so-called prison to pipeline, but let me be clear. Another pipeline to prison is not providing any consequences at all. Our students are gritty, and gentle parenting in school is not an adequate way to discipline. Every day, there is at least one fight on campus, if not more. Just today, there was a trail of blood in the hallway leading to the office. On numerous occasions, I've stepped outside my classroom door and stumbled into a brawl, wondering if one of the students would punch me in the face as I tried to break them up. It's not an unreasonable concern because earlier this year, a student shoulder checked me in the hallway. I did request that a police report be filed, but I do regret not pressing charges. The students are increasingly hostile, willing to intimidate even teachers and staff, be defiant, or simply just walk out of the classroom. The fighting is so bad that we're hiding students in classrooms at break and lunch for their safety. Twice this year, I've had to usher a student into my room so they could escape another student looking to jump them. The first time, I had to physically block my door and shout at the other student to go away. The second time, a couple weeks ago, a student ran into my classroom with a bloody nose because another student punched her in the face. It's just not safe. I'm pleading with the board, with you, Superintendent McDuffie, please help us. You can support our staff and our students by requesting a school resource officer from the police department. I know that some may have a political or ideological objection to having school resource officers on campus, but we are beyond abstract debates. We need concrete action and support. We also believe that it's time for SMBSD to build a continuation school, something like Fitzgerald. We have students who are simply not capable of learning in a regular classroom setting, and they are impeding the learning of the many students like we just had here. These other students are impeding the learning of these kinds of students who want a better future for themselves, and we need all your support. So thank you for your time.
Distinguished members of the board, my name is Luke Laurie. I am a resident of Santa Maria, a constituent, a parent of 2 children who attended our schools, and I've been a science teacher at El Camino Junior High for 27 years. It saddens me greatly to bear witness to the decline of a school that was, not so long ago, a venerated institution. El Camino was once a sanctuary of stability in an unstable world, but it has become a chaotic battleground where mixed messages and ineffective disciplinary consequences have stoked the fires of violence instead of extinguishing them. My daughter attended El Camino 7 years ago. I would not allow my child to attend El Camino today. In my first 25 years of teaching, I broke up 3 fights. These were traumatic and frightening events. In just the past 2 years, I've had to step in and respond to more than a dozen violent altercations. Violence and the threat of violence are now present in every moment. The lack of respect for authority and brazen disregard for norms corrupt every aspect of our school's climate. I can assure you that the high schools are not ready for what is coming. We have normalized violence. I have 3 recommendations for action. 1, one-day suspensions are not enough. These do not serve as a meaningful deterrent to violent behaviors, and they don't give us time to prepare for the next event. We need to prioritize the right of victims and potential victims over the rights of bullies and violent actors. We've had many students who have had to be placed in safe rooms during breaks and lunches to protect them from potential assailants who patrol the yard freely with their allies. And three, we need to be a fully staffed school. We've gone the entire year with 2 counseling positions unfilled and several teaching positions unfilled or partially unfilled, and countless shortages of substitutes and support staff. Recruiting has been inadequate and too late. We need to prioritize filling classroom positions over filling TOSA positions. We can never ensure a stable school environment until we have stable employment. Please continue to monitor the situation at El Camino. This cannot be the new normal. Our community deserves better.
Good evening, members of the board. I am Alicia Sage, and I teach 8th grade English and 7th grade Avid at El Camino. I began in this district in 2016 as a student teacher and have taught here ever since. The violence at our school is a spreading plague. We had multiple fights today alone. I had one meeting with admin rescheduled due to a fight, and the school site council meeting was rescheduled several times due to emergencies. Our school is on fire with only small cups to put it out. California's Right to Safe Schools law states all students and staff of primary, elementary, junior high, and high schools have the inalienable right to attend campuses that are safe, secure, and peaceful. Our campus is none of those things. Teachers and students alike are stressed out and constantly on edge. This often makes classrooms unmanageable and students disengaged. I propose the following solutions. Security and supervision at our schools requires more people, as well as retaining those who work hard to keep students safe. The district must pay all aides, substitutes, and security more while also providing benefits, so these positions are desirable and worth the effort. 2, in-school suspension requires more than one staff member, as well as staff members who are experienced with troubled youth. Instead of keeping students hidden away, have them do community service, learn new ways to express their emotions, and build understanding of the ramifications of their actions. The inconsistent, inadequate, and sometimes non-existent discipline practices must be restructured. 3, finally, leadership needs to focus on legitimate issues at sites. I'm not sure I want to be a teacher anymore because of the focus on petty details instead of disastrous fights and structurally oppressive school systems. I urge the board and district leaders to fight the status quo and take meaningful action. Thank you.
Thank you, board members, and thank you, district leaders. You who have the awesome power given to you by the people to do something about injustice. I'd like to talk about just that, justice and fairness. My name is Joel Kringle, and I have been an 8th grade teacher at my beloved El Camino Junior High School for 29 years. Just want to add, my son also went to El Camino, and sadly, I would never have him come right now at this present situation. Please imagine this situation Right here tonight, imagine at this meeting, some audience members started talking loudly or laughing at your request to be quiet. Imagine that you can't even remove these disruptors to hold an orderly meeting. I beg you to believe me that this scenario is no exaggeration. It happens in my and other classes literally every day. It has nothing to do with a teacher's classroom management skills. I've been teaching here for 29 years and I've never had to deal with the amount of disruptions, outright anger, bullying, and disrespect that I now deal with daily. The fights we see in the halls extend to disruptions in the classroom. I beg you to try to imagine the stress and harassment we teachers feel. I beg you to really hear us and to help. It is our sacred duty to ensure that schools are safe and that classrooms are orderly so students can focus. At El Camino, we have such amazing students. I refuse to go along with anybody who accepts bad behavior as the new normal, who suggests that we have to accept lower standards. I'm going to advocate fiercely the rest of my teaching years for these amazing kids who are losing out on peaceful, orderly classrooms because of a few who need extra help in an alternative classroom where they could not steal the education of students ready to learn. But what can we do? I keep on hearing. For starters, let's not throw our hands up and say, that's something we just have to put up with because of El Camino's neighborhood and these new state laws, like I keep hearing from so many educational leaders. As someone who works at one of the most disadvantaged schools in our city, I'm tired of the suggestion that disadvantaged students and their hardworking parents just need to accept bullying and disruptions in school because of inclusion. Inclusion, if done right, is wonderful. But inclusion was never meant to mean that we accommodate disruption, that we tolerate students who day after day don't let us teach, that we accept bullying, that we accept stressed out teachers. But that is exactly what is happening. At El Camino, we desperately need an extended opportunity class that allows more than the measly 10 students and ends after 5 periods. When we have a student who constantly bullies and disrupts, we teachers need to not be told, don't send any students to the office. We need to educate parents about the dangers of cell phones. We need to always have space at an alternative school for students who bully and disrupt daily, so they can get the help and counseling that they need and not prevent eager students from learning. It all boils down to a dogged determination from you and all of us that we have safe campuses and orderly classrooms and high standards for behavior. Please, if I could just have one more word, all the El Camino teachers here tonight and myself would be so happy if any of you contact us if you want to join our determined campaign to keep El Camino orderly. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Gash, and I'm a special day math teacher at El Camino Junior High School. After teaching 13 years in Los Angeles, I moved here and have been teaching at El Camino for almost 8 years. I've never spoken at a board meeting before, and I never thought I would, but events of late really give me no choice. After my first year of teaching at El Camino, I thought I would retire at this school because I loved it so much. Today, I'm reconsidering. I never thought I would see my beloved school descend into the utter chaos it is in today. I no longer feel safe at my school, and I'm very worried about the safety of students and staff. Since the beginning of the school year, I've witnessed countless fights on campus. There's a fight almost every day now. They happen during classes, passing time, at break, at lunch, before school, and after school. People get hurt on a daily basis. And it's not just the students who get hurt. In the last 6 months, 3 female teachers at El Camino have been punched in the face by students. 3 teachers. Have you ever heard of that happening anywhere in one school year? I haven't, and it shouldn't be happening. In addition to all the fights, I've noticed a precipitous decline in student conduct and student buy-in. In years past, almost any student on the blacktop would be responsive to staff directives to pick up their trash or disperse when they're in large groups. Now I see students walking away from classified staff, teachers, and administrators, ignoring directives, and even cussing out adults. In addition to this, innocent students that witness these fights enter the class so affected by what they just witnessed that they have difficulty focusing on their classwork. Most students just want to come to school and learn, and they can't because of all the violence. Something has happened at El Camino, and it's really sad. I've seen too much blood, too many concussions, and too many other injuries. It's taking a toll on the mental health of our school community. For my own personal safety and mental well-being, I've decided to look elsewhere within this district to teach. Unless something drastically changes in the next few weeks, I plan to transfer to a safer site. I don't know what the solution is, but I hope bringing this to your attention will spur district action. Please help us. We need help. We need help. We need help.
Good evening. My name is Larissa Hossel, and I teach science at El Camino Junior High. I have been teaching for 6 years, and this is my first year in the district. Today, I had a fight in my classroom. Students were arguing with each other, shoving each other inches away from students who were seated and ready to learn. These students would not listen to me or the aide in my classroom to separate, and so I made the decision to step in between them to physically separate them to protect other students nearby. Using my body, I was finally able to guide one student out of the room. This is the second fight in my class this year and one of many, many, many fights on campus. I often feel on edge in my classroom, especially when students are present who have been suspended multiple times for aggression and violence. What is most upsetting to me, however, is that many students, they do care about their education and they are fearful on campus. Or worse, they're desensitized. It hurts that I cannot promise them safety in my own classroom. They deserve to come to school and learn without disruption or fear of violence. Our campus urgently needs your help. We thank you for your time and your consideration.
Good evening. My name is Astasia Zarling, and I teach physical education at El Camino Junior High School. I have been with this district for 15 years, and I am a proud alumni and graduate of El Camino and Santa Maria Bonita School District schools. I'm speaking today to express a major concern about the safety of our students, staff, and our teachers. The level of violence, verbal outbursts, assaults, intimidation, and harassment amongst the students have been on a steady rise since last year. An example of the peak of violence was on October 24th, when there were 8 students that fought in one day. The majority of the fights and conflicts are amongst a small minority of students, but it has greatly affected the entire school. Teachers are having to deal with major behavior issues like students walking out of class, violent outbursts, students using offensive curse words. As a physical education teacher, I often have a front row seat for many of these major distractions outside. We have staff that have been injured, struck, cursed out while attempting to assist with breaking up fights, which leave many of our members, staff members, fearful of getting involved. For several months of the school year, students were not being suspended for their first fight. This caused a false narrative that the first fight was, quote, free. What is a suspendable offense? How egregious does a fight have to be in order to, quote, get in trouble? How many times are students allowed to fight in a school year before being removed from the school? We are asked to voluntarily step outside our classrooms during passing periods, lunch, and breaks to convey an adult presence, but we are fearful of violent acts that we may need to intervene on. Putting ourselves at a physical risk is not a question that should be asked of us. One of the most heartbreaking things about the violence at our campus is the way that it has shifted the entire culture. The majority of our students are amazing, but we as teachers are often the safe haven for these students we have to use our classrooms, our gyms, our clubs to hide out and be away from the violence. This is not the culture of our school. and this is not the climate that we are known for at El Camino. My experience over the past year has been exhausting, stressful. The daily tension that is palpable on the blacktop is unsettling. Many of these problems can be addressed by bringing back the SRO, which is a school site resource officer, in order to have a police presence on our site and begin to build a sense of community. Another solution is to reevaluate the suspension policy in the district. There needs to be a more comprehensive behavioral policy for all the junior highs that address the major behaviors that students that cause violent outbursts or repeated assaults or fights. And finally, there needs to be a junior high specific parent education or communication program that clearly conveys the challenges of junior high life, such as cyberbullying, the consequences of social media and cell phones, and the repercussions of posting violent fights on social media. This is a serious cry for help at the junior high schools. Our students deserve a safe junior high school experience. I appreciate and I'm thankful for your time and your consideration. Thanks.